Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Strive Golf Podcast. Devin here with me is Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
Good to be back.
Yeah, it was amazing to see you in face to face this weekend.
Almost didn't know how to handle it.
Me either. I was so ecstatic to have you down here in the sunshine, down here in St. George. So we'll recap that because there were some good things there.
I'll just lead by saying I see why people live down there in the winter. That's all I'll say.
I mean, you take me for a sales guy. But I'm failing in that department because I'm trying. It's a hard sell, but I'm trying. But with us again is another one. We hesitate to call him a guest because he's going to be a good friend of the pod. He's going to be on here. But we have with us a fellow snap hooker of the ball, Mr. Victor González. Victor, thanks for joining, my man.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited about this, and this is going to be a fun experience.
Yeah, it's good, man. We kind of similar to Austin. I actually met you through peers, and kind of a similar thing as I have you two to thank for my golf experience and my golf career. When we originally met, Victor, I don't know if we were fans of each other, to be honest, but I'm grateful we grew up a little bit and had this game of golf to keep us tight, because the whole skateboarding thing wasn't jiving, was it?
No, that wasn't a connecting piece. So yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, meeting as, gosh, definitely in middle school, by the time that we got together, and like most middle school boys, it is, who your friends are and who the kids that make you upset are. And so that I would say that started out that way, as it was more of a rivalry, more of a, who is this kid that lives a few blocks away? And yeah, I would definitely say golf brought us together. And now it's been a friendship of, what are we now, 15 years into this?
Yeah. And again, super grateful for it, because I'll never forget the first time you came over to my house. This is like such a gem story. I almost hesitate to share it because it's so good. When we were just skateboarding on my rail outside my house in my driveway, I had me and Austin and maybe a couple others, but then here comes Victor in basketball shoes and a bike helmet, like it was this clown. And you made an attempt at the rail, and you want to share what happened next, Victor?
Well, I could skateboard back in the day. I wouldn't get on a skateboard nowadays. I mean,
of course not.
Been such a long time since that happened, but like most middle school boys, you wanted to start getting into the things that are cool. And skateboarding was one of those things. Austin Pierce, that you had on the podcast last week, was one of my good friends, and he skateboarded. One of the boys across the street skateboarded as well. And I was getting into it as much as I could, able to do a few tricks here and there. I'd never really done a rail. Okay, and this rail that you have, I mean, what's maybe a foot off the ground?
Yeah, it's not much.
And so, yeah, it's not like something you would see on like X Games or something, but it was like, all right, this is how you get started. And the way your driveway is, it slopes from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And so, I see you guys doing it a few times. I'm like, yeah, of course I'll do it and stuff. And so I roll up there and, do the little jump to get on and hit that rail nice. Center of the board, that board goes flying under my feet. And my back goes and hits the corner edge of that rail. And did that hurt? I probably have back pain to this day from that.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, yeah, I hit that. I was embarrassed. I tried to get up and be tough, I'm not going to sit there and cry in front of some of the other kids down the street, about especially somebody like Devin. I did not want to be very good friends with, especially after that. And man, you guys were laughing at me. I was trying to laugh at myself. At the same time, it was more of just, I think I need to go home now. And I just kind of picked up my board and walked away because I was too scared to skate on it after that. That was tough. All right. That was a tough one.
I appreciate you sharing that, Vic. Oh, I was just on mute because I was dying. That was, it's just one of those, you just never forget it. And I feel terrible now. But man, I'm grateful that we've, like I said, we've matured a little bit, and we've been able to just think back to that many a times and have a good laugh. So But now you do that similar type of thing to me now, just on the golf course. So it's Victor hits the ball an unbelievable length. It's I always know now it's an easy check. I'm just 3 clubs more. So whatever Victor is hitting, I add 3 and then I feel pretty confident in it. So anyway, so appreciate that, man. So kind of with that though, I am curious because I don't even know actually how you got started. I don't know if it was just like your dad, or I'm sure your brother may have had an influence there, but what's kind of the genesis of the game of golf with you?
Yeah, kind of strange that we've golfed forever. And like we talked about like how, like early days of golf and maybe like how I really got into it. It was crazy learning like your experience with your dad showing up to the course for the first time. I didn't know that. And we've been golfing for what, years now, hundreds of rounds of golf together. And I never knew like that original story until I listened to that first episode of the podcast. And for me, I love sports. So I have 2 brothers, and sports was a big thing in our home, and golf obviously it's an individual thing. And growing up, didn't really know what golf was. I knew what golf clubs were, I guess, to a certain age. As I started to grow up, but my dad definitely was the one that helped to get me into the game of golf. And so he's a surgical nurse, and some of the doctors that he works with and some of the people he works with at the hospital, that is something they do. They love to play golf, and that got him into playing after work. Murray Parkway up in the Salt Lake City area was one of their go-to spots, not too far from the hospital that they worked at. And so as a young kid, when he would come back from rounds of golf, he would always have the drink that he would bring from the course. And so he would have, the last few swallows of a Pepsi. And so my brothers and I, we would be like, oh, we went golfing today. And so we would go and we'd finish off the rest of his soda when he would come home, because it was like, oh, what a treat and stuff. We didn't drink soda or Pepsi, of all those things. And so I would see that he would have clubs. And eventually it got to the point where my brothers and I, we would go to the driving range with him, and we would try to swing by ourselves, and we would see him hit. And it was just seeing, we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s at this point. So like some of the clubs are those metal fairway woods, and the sound that they made was so cool to see, and like see him like hit a ball, and it was just like, wow, this was amazing and stuff. And so I played a lot of baseball growing up. I mean, that was probably one of my first love is baseball. And so that natural swing got me into, wow, like hitting a golf ball is amazing. It's one thing to hit a baseball into the outfield, but it's another thing to just pick up a driver with a golf ball and absolutely launch it to the moon. And so the ball goes farther. It was just like really fun. And obviously along the way, it was playing with my dad, playing with my brothers, and then even with my grandpa in central Utah, going down to a little farmer 9-hole course. And when I would spend a week with my grandpa, with my brothers during the summertime, one of the day's activities, besides fishing and four-wheeling and helping out on his little country farm ranch, basically, would be go to the golf course and play, because it was something to do. One of the only things, honestly, to do down in those little small towns. And so I really started to learn to love golf, and eventually finding out like, hey, like there's a course not too far. And my brother and I went and played it. I remember like one of the first times we went and played it, I actually hit one of the geese that's out on the course at Riverbend. And like, just an absolute blade off of number 2's tee box at Riverbend from like the white tees way up there. And I remember it hit a goose, and it just made this really funny sound. And my brother and I will remember that forever. And then eventually it became more of a, wow, this is really fun. I would love to do this more often. And got a little junior summer pass for the Salt Lake County golf courses, which really was just one course right there in town that I'd go to, not too far from my house. And so as middle school turned into going into high school, it became, wow, is this something I want to do just in the summer? Or the high school team has a golf team, or the high school has a golf team. And the decision came to me because it's a fall sport. And I was playing football at the time, played 2 seasons of football, and playing golf during the summertime. I was like, okay, this is becoming way more fun than I thought it would be. And then it turned into, if I can make the golf team as a freshman, then I won't play football. But if I don't, football it is, like with all my friends I've been playing with. And so made it as a freshman. And then from there, it just turned into the love of my life. And that became my focus sport for sure.
That's interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that was kind of how that all came about. And again, I'm grateful that was the path, because yeah, growing up when I was first started to play, you and Austin were kind of what I looked up to, and was like, man, because I remember like kind of starting in that 8th grade and then seeing you a year older making it as a freshman. I just thought that was like the coolest thing. And I remember I'd talk to my dad about it all the time, like, man, I just want to be like Victor next year, and I want to make the golf team as a freshman. And that was really when we cranked it out, man. That summer pass, we got our money's worth like within the first couple of weeks. So yeah, those are some good times. And little did we know, man, we were probably crossing paths with old Sean there at the OG Riverbend.
No, that's what I was thinking as you were saying that story, Victor. Like, okay, we all basically the same age. We're all playing Riverbend, just happenstance. Then right as we kind of moved on in the last couple of years, you guys have moved down to St. George. Like, we haven't played Riverbend as much, but I was thinking, man, we got to get you guys up north one time this summer, and we should just all go play around at Riverbend, because I don't know. I don't know. Like, I've played with you, Devin, probably a couple times at Riverbend, and then Pierce was probably there. But like, I know we haven't played all together at Riverbend since
I would honestly love to, because it's been years since I played that course. And I mean, I've played that course hundreds of times. And so all the holes are in my head. But when it's been such a long time, you just think, growing up, that hole looked this way. What does it look like now that my game has progressed or time has gone on and things have maybe changed with the layout of the course or certain trees that have grown up?
Yeah, it's definitely a sentimental course for me, because I like overall, like the design of the course is what it is. I think regardless of it though, I would still always love it, because that's where that was the mecca for us. And yeah, now it's like, yeah, I would like to see Victor play that course, because he'd tear it up. So yeah, we will do it, and we'll that's a great one to film and kind of
have to try it this summer maybe.
So yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. So anyway, I think similarly, with kind of diving right into this, what we've done again with the whole deer golf thing, I love the insight and perspective that it gives. So again, we've done it. Austin did it. So we want to have you take a swing at that, Vic, if you wouldn't mind, just write your letter to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I put a few notes down here and try to get started on this. So here's my deer golf. Dear golf, before I found the love of my life, you were the hottest thing on the block. We had many wonderful days together, and even into the night, you were on my mind. We started out just as a couple of young kids, just having fun and learning a passion together. We had our seasons of grief and hardships, but honestly, I have to dig deep to think of those times, because it is completely overshadowed by the moments of pure joy that we've had. I've had many family members and many good friends, have some of the best memories on the golf course, and have certainly learned many of life's lessons from my dad and from my brothers. And some of those lessons can be how to practice, how to prepare, how to compete and have success, and to do it with grace, and how to lose after having bad shot after bad shot, but not lose my cool and lose control. I'm grateful that this game found me at a young age, along with many of my best friends. And those long summer days, year after year, were some of my greatest experiences as a bunch of high school kids, and honestly, some of the best moments that we could ever ask for. Over the years, the skills have certainly sharpened and developed, but so have my friendships, which I plan on them lasting a lifetime. So together we have reached many milestones, some of which most golfers might not achieve during their entire lifespan, but for our achievements, they're not over quite yet. And so I love you, golf. You'll always be there, and the journey continues.
Jeez. Dude, that was awesome. That was seriously so good. And I think Sean hit it on the head, man. We're setting a scary precedent for our wives of, we better tomorrow's Valentine's Day, man. You better crank that out and share the same love to her that you just did to golf. Cause that was awesome. And that's what I love about that, man. It really does. allow us to kind of open up and really see the insights and really how special the game is to us. Cause I think, again, it can get kind of bogged down, especially with you and I, Vic. Like, we're blessed, man. We're living here in St. George. We're playing often. I know, Sean has a better perspective with that, because we just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I take it for granted, but that exercise really allowed me to like reflect, and it really did kind of change me in the way that I think about golf. And just that, as you were reading that and just talking about that, kind of similar feelings came flooding back. And it's awesome to kind of see you in that light and really to open up and share, what this game means to you. It obviously means a lot to you, and it's really going to propel you into and springboard you into who you are and who you're going to be in 5 years and 10 years. And I think that's important, especially, with you got the little stud, the little dude, and how that's going to affect that relationship. Like, it's really exciting stuff and a special bond. So anyway, loved it, man. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Sean, any thoughts there? You want to take us to the Wasted Management Open? That storm of just the beer showers and the
Wasted Management. That's actually good. That's
give
good.
I was gonna say,
give it all to us, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think pretty clearly the most exciting golf tournament of the year. Safe to say that.
Yeah.
A lot of good storylines, because the leaderboard was chock full of top players in the world. And then, also the best storyline of the week, this Sahith Tagala. Probably the first time a lot of people have seen him, and what an awesome guy, honestly. Just a little bit of his story, and just seeing him get in on a sponsor's exemption and really be in it throughout the whole tournament. And even on Sunday, when you'd kind of expect things to get a little tight for someone trying to do all of this for the first time, I thought he really thrived in the moment, and honestly, he was in a really good position to win and hit an awesome shot on 17 that got a pretty awful bounce and ended up wet. But he played so good, and hopefully with his finish, earning some FedEx Cup points and also some prize money, you'd hope to see. Hopefully, he'll get some more opportunities on tour, because he definitely seems like he's got the game for it, and he certainly has personality.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
A couple of thoughts that I have on him particularly is I remember I was watching that tournament that they have. I think it's Pasatiempo. It's a intercollegiate something. He won that tournament there when he was at Pepperdine, and I just remember he had a Kobe jersey on, and so I was like, that whoever that dude is, I automatically like him. So that's kind of all I knew about it. I knew he was there for like 5 years. He had like a wrist injury and had like surgery, so he didn't. So he's able to have an extra year there. But I always liked his swing. Like, he kind of reminds, kind of like Akshay Bhatia, just in that, like, that young, just kind of like they just go at the ball, which I love. But also, like, I said, even after he didn't finish that first round the first day, he went back and I think he bogeyed his last 2 holes that he had to finish. And after that, I'm like, oh, that was a good 16 holes of golf, man. But I thought, to be honest, that was kind of going to be the last of what we saw of him throughout the tournament. But no, he held in there and played amazing the next day, and loved, as this little rookie out there just pumping up the crowds and just totally embracing it, which for me, I'd probably collapse. So I thought that was awesome. He definitely has, hard not to root for a guy like that. So.
Yeah, and I'd say he really had, like, when I think back or look back on the tournament, the image of the tournament for me is going to be him coming out of the scores table. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on Twitter, but coming out of the scores table, his parents met him, and he totally just like broke down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really touching. You could tell like this all meant so much for him, and it was, there's lots of people have commented on this as well, but it's very refreshing, just with kind of the last couple of weeks golf has had, right, with sort of this money grab attempt by a lot of guys. So it's just really refreshing to see it mean so much to him.
Right.
And as much as I love Harry Higgs, and I could not get enough of him without a shirt on, the lasting image for me of the tournament's going to be it's the heat of his parents. Just like, you could tell he was so close and he wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really hoping he gets some more shots.
Yeah.
He was about to win that tournament. Like, I could tell, you could, like, the camera was on his eyes those last couple holes, and you could just tell, like, that was crushing him, that he threw away that one stroke, which was so valuable.
Off a good swing too. Though.
Off a good swing, yeah.
That bound on 17 was wild to see it end up in the water. That was tough.
And we can get into this, but I mean, 17 is by far my favorite hole in that golf tournament. It just blows my mind that they don't play that hole for the playoff.
That's what I was telling my dad. My dad and I were watching it, and I'm like, man, like, as soon as I said we're just gonna keep playing 18, I'm like, well, get ready for 4 or 5 holes because we're just gonna keep parring this hole over and over again. So yeah, I agree. Like, take it back to set. Like, what a perfect kind of match play. Like, what an awesome hole. Yeah, I couldn't agree more there. But yeah, what a stud. So that's what else, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was, like I said, a lot of big names on the leaderboard, so it was good to see them because a lot of them still early season for them, but it's kind of the first we've seen of Koepka. I thought he did a lot of things really well. Like, he drove the ball awesome. He putted great. His wedge play was pretty poor too, so I'd like, if he tightens that up a little bit, I think he's got a good chance of winning. Of course, Rahm, he was somehow found his way in the top 10 on the leaderboard without making a putt literally all week.
Always.
Same with Justin Thomas as well. So I feel a lot of guys trending kind of the right direction as we start to get to really the meat of the tour schedule, right? With the Players Championship coming up, closely followed by the Masters and PGA Championship. So hopefully setting up to be an exciting couple months on tour. And like I said, this tournament's always a blast because it's super unique. I mean, I don't know the best way to describe the uniqueness. It's more a party, I think, than a golf event at some point. And luckily we saw 2 hole-in-ones at the stadium hole this time around, and it was pure just pandemonium in the stands. I don't think I've ever seen a golf tournament delayed because they had to rake beer cans off the green and out of the bunkers.
That was
but I mean, it's a lot of fun. And so Victor, you've been to this tournament before, haven't you?
I have. I was there a few years ago, the year that Ricky Fowler won it. So 19.
Sweet. Yeah, how's it being there live?
Yeah.
Being there live is great. And so, I mean, Scottsdale, Arizona is, when you say that in the golf community, it's a golf destination. So there's people that, ditch the cold winter states and they are down in Scottsdale, either as snowbirds or just on the golf vacation, because where they're living is not conducive to the golf weather during those winter months. And so Scottsdale is full of courses. Obviously, TPC Scottsdale is the famous one, and for good reason, because that course is beautiful. I mean, they have taken such good care of it. And just being there in person, you're just like, man, like, it looks like just a magic carpet out there. The fairways, the greens. That's the first time I ever went to a PGA Tour event. And so to see a lot of these people up close and obviously have them walk right by you as they're going from green to tee box, and just looking at these people that for years I've looked up to and saw on TV, but to see them in person was just like, wow, like, these guys are awesome. But to a certain extent, it was also like, man, like, some of the shots they can hit, like, I've done that before and everything. And so there was kind of that perspective of, man, like, I would love to be able to, like, not that I would want to play in front of thousands of people like that, but it's just like, what would I be able to shoot on this course that these guys are playing in? And the tournament itself, honestly, really is amazing. And I was there with a bunch of guys that I work with, and we were there just for one day, so a Friday round. And the weather was perfect. It was sunny. It was wonderful. And hole number 17 is probably where I spent the most time, just because we got there a little bit later in the morning. And so there's a mad rush. You've probably seen Instagram videos or people that are there. Yeah, in the early morning, and they are just booking it, like the half mile it takes to get from the gates over to number 16, because there's only so much seating in the public area for that hole. But 17 has quite a bit of public bleacher space as well. And so that's where we sat down. We were probably there for close to 2 hours watching group after group come on in of the morning wave on that Friday, and it was exciting. So to me, it was an amazing experience, just because there's a little bit more casualness to it. You can root, you can holler. I mean, obviously people are going to do that at every tournament, but there it's just acceptable, and probably just the way that people will fly across the country from international even to come to that event. It is a party in the desert. And I think it's great for golf to have events like that. Not every week. I mean, I've never been to a major, and Augusta would never allow any of that nonsense there. But for Scottsdale, I mean, that is why people come into that town, is to enjoy the sunshine in early February and to see that course and to see some amazing golf taking place.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it is like, it's so good for it's like just like a perfect storm, right? Like the time of year, the venue of it, everything, it's very conducive to that. And I agree. Like, I think it is really good for the game of golf. As much as outside of that, there are things like, it's just a little too much, flat brims and white claws for my liking outside of that golf course, like in that tournament. Because we see those sometimes those types of people at the golf course. I've worked at a golf course and had to deal with them, and it's not always the most enjoyable. But I do think it's very inviting, and it does get eyes from on the golf course and on that tournament that would not normally watch or participate in a golf tournament. So I agree, and I side with that. That I think it's so good for that dose of the annual. We just know what we're expecting. It's the People's Open, the People's Championship for a reason. So those are kind of my thoughts on just that environment, how unique it is. I think that'd be hard to scale across multiple tournaments. There's just something about Scottsdale that it just jives so well.
Yeah, I don't know about multiple tournaments, but like as a sports fan in general, like today was the Super Bowl. And so like you love seeing like stadiums cheer their loudest, whether it's football or basketball or the playoffs in baseball. I mean, you can imagine some of those stadiums that, like, to me, that's one of the funnest things about sports, any type of sport, is when greatness is taking place, like the cheers that come along with it, and like the athletes taking in the passion of the crowd. And so to a certain extent, you're like, oh, I want to see that with golf, because golf's a quiet, like be quiet, like nobody talk. Golf clap is like the appropriate things, even used outside of the golf setting. People will always refer to, oh, it's a golf clap. You have to be quiet. It's a gentleman's game. And so to see Scottsdale take place, it is basically the moment where you get to experience other sports atmospheres with golf.
Yeah, which I think is really good for it. Sean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. I lean towards, okay, how can we get this into the game more? Maybe not to the extent of unloading a bunch of beer cans onto a green. Like I don't necessarily need that. But I love what Scottsdale does, where they really lean into, like Victor was mentioning, sort of the arena component, right? Where you try to build an environment that looks like other sporting events. And Scottsdale probably has the advantage being in the middle of the desert, and the course probably has a little more room. They're able to build out the grandstands they do. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if they do some aerial shots and whatnot, I would venture with the exception of maybe some of the majors, that there's a more of a build out to host the Scottsdale tournament than any other tournament on tour, right? Whether it's the grandstands, the concourses, all that, it's a huge build out for the tournament. And I can't remember what exactly the time frame is, but I think they start building it months in advance, right, to prep for the tournament. And so I think that's something that they should try to duplicate at other events, is creating almost the stadium or stadium atmosphere, kind of like building out amphitheaters basically for viewing areas. And you don't have to necessarily do it with like physical stands or whatever. Like Genesis coming up, 18's got a really cool natural amphitheater behind 18's green that usually lends itself to a cool crowd environment on the last hole. But I just wonder if there's more courses out there on the schedule where you could put in a little more effort to try to create a spot the fans could gather to try to encourage more noise, more excitement, more engagement. But I mean, a lot of it's tough because you think like we've played a decent number of country clubs just in Utah, and a lot of them are probably pretty similar layouts to what they play on tours, right? Where you just like walking through and it's like, man, there's just not a lot of room for a huge amount of people to gather. And that's why like Augusta's pretty unique in that sense where they control everything, right? So they kind of control where they have like big fan gathering points. And those are usually pretty exciting points of the golf course. Like they do a really good job on 16, right? Putting people around that par 3. So I think like Augusta can be a template that other tournaments could follow, with maybe allowing a little more craziness than Augusta will ever allow. Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's a chance for a lot of the guys on tour to maybe let their hair down a little bit. You see more of their natural character. Like someone like Harry Higgs, obviously, like you can tell he's a pretty good character. But today, right, the whole thing with him and Joel Damon, that started last night on Twitter. I think Joel Damon sent out a screenshot and said, "Oh, the dream come true" or whatever, because he was paired up with Harry Higgs. So he screenshotted the text that Tour Communication sent to him and said, if this gets enough retweets or whatever, old Higgsy will play with his shirt off or whatever. So it creates more situations like that. And I love Thursday, Friday. I didn't watch as much this year, but usually guys will come out rocking like sports jerseys and that kind of thing and really try to engage the crowd. So I think that's cool. But at the same time, I know like even just going down through the leaderboard, I could probably pick a couple names that guys that just would never really get into that. So it's like at the same time, it's not something I would push for every tournament. But I do feel more tournaments could make an attempt to try to create a more fan engaging experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. And maybe that's why Patrick Cantley, this is his first time. Maybe he just doesn't jive well with that type of
but
environment.
I thought he did pretty well in it too.
That's what I was saying. I was like, hey, he actually did better than I thought and seemed to engage, and then obviously had a great showing. So that's just, to me, that's really impressive. He was able to do that, first time around. That just shows you just the guy is dialed right now. So yeah, no, I agree. And John, we didn't even talk about your pick, man. Scotty Scheffler, the first dub. What, like, guy is sick. And that was just cool to see how well he played on the back nine. That putt in regulation, I was like, oh, dude, you got to make that putt. Like, even when he was lined up, that camera view was perfect. And I was like, dude, I even caught him like, he's gonna miss that low. He's gonna miss that right.
Pushed it, man.
Sure enough, just right. He's like, oh no. But I was sick. He was able to come back and have another chance and get the dub. But good pick, Sean.
Kind of wild too, because when you're watching the back nine, you could see him on the leaderboard, but at the same time, I never thought he was going to win the tournament.
Low key, kind of like the Hoagie experience.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of hung around. Like, I remember going into 13, he was only like 12 down. And I think the leaders were at like 15, maybe 16 at that point. And, makes a good birdie on like 13, 14, 15. He didn't get 16, barely, like right on the edge, and 17. So just what a strong finish. Like that was sick.
Yeah, but like I said, super, super fun tournament. And it was actually, I thought it played out pretty well on TV. I thought they did a good job at sort of leaning into the craziness, trying to give you a good view. And I think the last 4 holes of that tournament really play out for some excitement, right? Got the par 5 that's reachable, but it's a pretty good risk reward hole. 16 is obviously the circus. 17 is a perfect short 4. And then 18, this lost a little intrigue over the years because guys, just the water's an afterthought on the left side. Like everybody can bomb it over the water now. But it's lost a little bit of kind of the good finishing hole. But still, I think anytime you got a finishing hole where guys are hitting wedges in and good chance of making birdies, it does create some excitement. So
yeah, I see the back of theirs, like 15. I agree. The finish is so good. And I just put myself in that position on 15. That ball is just Dead laugh. That's in the water every time. Like I see that, and then same thing on 17, 18. I'm like, man, that is not conducive to the three of us being, you all can empathize with, with the snappy hooks. So it's
hitting it left. I was gonna say, after being there, like that 18 tee box, standing basically where the tee box is, because there's a little cart path right in front of it. So you're 3 steps away from where they actually do tee off right behind you. And you look at what their target is with all the grandstands and all the people and everything. It has got to be one of the most, for me, I just thought, I don't know where am I going to hit this ball? There's just, church pew bunkers there to the left. There's water, there's grandstands. I mean, the crowd is pretty tight there on the right side. And it's just like, where do I land this ball that's going to be safe? Like, to me, when I was at that tournament, I just thought 18's tee shot might be the hardest thing to do 4 days in a row.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that too, Victor, being there and being able to see that, because that is like when we went to the CJ Cup, like there was a lot of shots that we saw that we could kind of put our shoes on. I think that's what's so great about golf. Like, I don't know what it's like to dunk the ball like LeBron James. Like, I don't know what it's like to do any of those, like, but golf, like I know what it's like to stress over a, 4-foot slider putt for par, which makes golf just so good. But I'm curious, like from your perspective, being there, like, is it much different, like seeing them hit shots, like whether if it's off the tee or, iron shots or like little wedges around the greens? Like, is it like, do you personally feel like, like, yeah, I could kind of do this? Or is it just like they are hitting that ball, just, it sounds different, it looks different? Or is it like, yeah, like I can kind of relate? Like what, like from your perspective, I was curious.
I mean, I've played with some pretty good golfers before. Like all three of us on this podcast, like we're not just golfers, we're good golfers. Like shooting, plus or minus par and stuff. And so like, it's one thing to like get certain numbers, but the way that the pros do, I mean, obviously look at the leaderboard. I mean, when 16 under after 4 rounds, none of us have ever done that. I mean, that would be a feat. It doesn't matter what course we're at, to be 16 under after 4 consecutive days of golf. That's just the difference between, like, we're amateur players, then there's really good amateur players that are competing for high state awards, and then there's the pros, I mean, tour pros that are doing this. And so to be there, I think so much of it is just the skill level. But when they are hitting shots, you just expect them to hit it the best possible. So like, I'll see a shot and think, man, I can do that. I can hit a drive 300 yards. I can hit, a par 3 tee shot that's 182 yards, a little crosswind. I can hit a green just fine. I can even get it close. But these guys are doing it every single time, and their misses are just smaller. In ours, we have the potential to thin it across the green. We have the potential to just snap hook one. I've never seen that on tour. Right. Like really ever. I mean, every now and again, it's a big deal when a tour pro does it, because then it finds its way to social media. Like, oh, look at that. He actually shanked a shot. He's human. And that's the first shank that they've had on tour, in 5 years or whatever it is. And so just the difference between good amateur golfers that we are and tour level pros is that, like, they can execute the shot every single time, and that's why they get paid big money to do that.
Yeah, no, I just kind of thought the same thing. Like when we were at the CJ Cup and like going to the US Open and things, like it just, like watching those guys off the first tee at Pebble, I'm just like, man, like there's just something, because I remember I saw a lot of them, they hit like irons or a lot of hybrids off of that first tee. And where we were standing, I could kind of see them facing me. So I was able to see the club face, and like there were tons that were literally, there was just this light little wear mark literally right in the center of the club face. It's like, man, you take a look at my hybrid, I got them all. Like I got a full on spread, but theirs is just worn right in the center, which is just like that. It is just something different. But it is interesting, just the dispersion between, like a Corn Ferry Tour player and the PGA Tour player is just so crazy thin. But just that wall between, good amateur players and them, it's just crazy how good these guys are.
And I think another cool part too, or what really sets them apart for me, is I would say a lot of the courses they play, just how tricky really the green complexes are. And I think it's been fun to have you guys down at Bloomington Country Club there, who's just redone the greens recently. And I think a big part of that redo was trying to mirror more professional level greens or whatever. So there's a lot of subtle nuances in the greens that really, it impacts your approach shots quite a bit. And these guys are facing that kind of thing every week. So they're dialed to the point where they know certain spots on the green they need to hit it to. They're not just shooting at the pin per se. They're trying to hit spots on the green that will funnel the ball kind of toward the pin. And I mean, every time I play Bloomington, and this past weekend was a good example, like there's spots where, oh man, I hit the shot, I hit a good shot, pretty good contact. Oh, hit the wrong part of the green, and now I'm in a terrible spot, right? And so just dealing with that every week, just I think it really, because there's hitting your spots on a golf course and there's like really, really hitting your spots, right? And these guys, the circle that these guys are hitting is much smaller than the circle I'm trying to hit.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. And I was going to ask you, yeah, your thoughts on that, Sean. Because yeah, again, your birthday weekend, sick to have you down here, see your face, and just, you know, that was awesome. But yeah, I do think Bloomington does, it kind of exposes that part of your game if you're not on it. And, you know, there's much more to that course than face value, than what meets the eye.
For sure.
And once people play it, and they kind of understand it. But that's funny, because I was going to ask you what your thoughts were like on the course. And again, having basically coming out of a little hibernation there.
Deep hibernation. Yeah, it was fun. It was a ton of fun. I can't remember, I'm sure it's the first round every year, but I can't remember being that excited for a round of golf. I was seriously jazzed. It felt kind of like the night before Christmas, that couple days before, when I finally committed to, like, hey, I think we're going to come down. So it was a ton of fun too. Just the same kind of first tee jitters too. And then just, it was cool to see, like, it comes back, right? Like at the end of the day, you just got to make a nice shoulder turn, keep your eye on the ball, and trust that you've done it enough. And I felt like I was pleasantly surprised. I thought I played a little better than I was expecting, and the new clubs, new clubs were awesome. So I'm excited to have those in the bag this year too, and hopefully get back down to St. George to play some more, hopefully in the near future.
That's the hope. Well, awesome. Yeah, I love it. You know, kind of coming up for, anything else we want to talk about there on the, you know, the tournament, or anything else before we move on to another awesome tournament, awesome golf course? You know, we know it well, we see it every year pretty much. So, but any last thoughts before we kind of preview that?
The other thing with Scottsdale that I would say is that it helps make or put golf in an image that golf is fun. Like, it's a good time. Like, especially, I mean, obviously it's a party there, but once you start playing golf with friends, with buddies, with family members, with the way that the carts are, I mean, you can have music going, you can have some drinks going, the sunshine. Like, golf is a good time. It's not just something that's there for, you know, stuck up trust fund boys that are out on their country club and they wouldn't know that lifestyle. But no, like, it is fun for all ages. I mean, that term in general is that you have the diehard golfers that have known it forever. You have people that travel from across this country, from international, that come over there because they want to enjoy that scene. And so for me, I think it's good to have that event to show to the world, especially young athletes, that golf is really cool. Yeah. Like, it is really fun.
You could not agree more. And I think that's something really important, especially now with all this crap that's going on with the Saudi League, because, like, you know, I'm going to get Sean real, I'm going to get them all fired up here, but just real quick, like, I think that is super important, because again, what's the cop out there? You know, always, it's the grow the game. You know, that's why we're doing this Saudi League. And it's like, dude, that's really not how you're going to grow the game. And we all know it. But like, we didn't talk at all about that. We didn't hear that on the telecast. It wasn't some big thing of like, you know, we're trying to grow the game here. Like, it was just genuine, authentic fun, which does by natural consequence grow the game. Like, they see that on TV, and, you know, they're talking with their buddies, and yeah, it's like, yeah, next weekend, let's go play 9 holes at the local muni and go figure it out. And then, you know, they have a very similar experience to what we all had, regardless of the age, whether if they're, you know, young in middle school, high school, or, you know, post college, like, there still is that opportunity. So Yeah, it's a really important piece to touch on, and it's just, again, by genuine good time and not, trying to have a cop out or a scapegoat of growing the game. So that's a good point.
Say my final thought on the tournament too is how many people that attended the event over the weekend are going to be do not show up to work tomorrow morning.
We thought the post Monday after the Super Bowl was, you think that's the number, like according to HR, that's like the most called in day, but those will add some numbers. 100%.
I think if you're a boss and you're in place, like, oh, you heading down to Phoenix this weekend? Where you go? Oh, watch a golf tournament. All right, well, I'll see you in about a week and a half then when you get out of the hospital. Well, I do, because you always see some videos pop up on social media too of trailing some people that have had a few too many, and these
guys are
zombie walk or the passed out just on the back accepting defeat too. It's seriously, no, it's very unique to golf, and
yeah,
it's a fun party weekend for sure.
Agreed. So yeah, and kind of moving over and it seems like, Riviera is it's in LA. It's kind of shifting more towards, that of kind of the elitists, but it is a really good golf tournament and a really good golf course, obviously. And it just seems like all the major players all the big guys are here, and it's the strength of the field is pretty strong. So really like the course, especially last year. That was honestly the most fun I've had watching a golf tournament in a while, besides obviously the 19 Masters. We all know what happened there, but that seeing Finau, seeing Max Homa battle it out, like that was awesome. Like it was just such good golf. So I'm super excited for this week, and just that golf course it's fun, man. That like the 10th green where they put that pin, I know that made a lot of players not so happy, but just like the whole backdrop of it, and those, I don't even know if they're called ghost trees, but that's just what I call them, because they kind of look like little spooky trees in the back nine. Are just they're awesome, and it shows well, and agreed that that 18th natural amphitheater of all those people just there with more fans this year, and that's something I'm super excited about. So let's make some picks and kind of go through that and talk about anything else we want to for the course.
Yeah,
John,
sure.
Lead us off. You're the winner. You won last week with an awesome pick of Mr. Scotty. So start us off with your number one draft pick.
Hey, I'll let you know with Mr. Shoffley. Did you guys see what shoes he was wearing?
I would assume Adidas, but no, I don't know if I.
He wears white Tiger Woods shoes, the same shoes that I have.
Oh, Scotty Scheffler. You said.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler.
Okay, bad. Sorry. I thought you said Xander.
That was another confusing thing about the leaderboard. I'm like Scheffler.
Yeah.
Scheffler.
Yeah. Xander.
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
He's
Scotty
wearing
Scheffler.
white Tiger Woods shoes.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, how many other tour pros wear Tiger shoes? Like, I just wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. And he had,
the first time I've ever seen it.
Some Jordan socks on underneath. Like that was sick. Yeah. Scotty's awesome.
Surprising swag from Scotty there.
Notice that.
All right, I'll lead us off picks, and it's a fun week to pick, because for sure this year, first time I think we've got all 10 of the top 10 in the world in the field. So a lot of big names to pick.
Yeah.
But having the first pick, I don't think I can go anywhere else but Jon Rahm. I feel like he's on top of his game and the best player in the world right now. So I'm going to make him my number one pick.
Victor.
I will take Mr. Patrick Cantlay, not just because he was the playoff first runner-up, whatever you want to call it there, but he's the UCLA boy. This golf course, he must have played 100 times while at UCLA, just down the street from campus. And so he's probably very familiar with it. And to a certain extent, this is home turf.
Solid pick. And I'm predictable. I'm going Max Homa, the defending champ. And he is also a local boy. So, kind of a home field advantage for him. So he's always my number one pick, but I'm going with Homa.
That's nice. All right, for my second pick, I said if this guy's going to be available, I'm going to have to pick him as much as I can. Rory McIlroy. making his year debut on U.S. soil. He's
Yeah.
had a couple of decent results over in the Middle East, and I just feel like anytime he tees it up, he's got the game to win. So rolling with Rory.
I'll go ahead and pick Cameron Smith and the wonderful hair that he has. He's going to take it to Hollywood and get that
Don't forget
W.
the stash.
And whatever hair he has on his face for the week.
I'm going to go with Sam Burns. He can also rock a killer mustache, and he played super well last year. So he seems like a solid pick.
Nice. Justin Thomas, third pick for me. I thought he played really well in Phoenix, just made approximately 0 feet of putts all week. So I feel like if he gets anything going with the putter, I think he should be near the top of the leaderboard.
And for good measure, more of a blue chip pick here, I'll go ahead and take Mr. Dustin Johnson. Is that when it's time to get a win, he can go to Riviera, show up, and nobody would question why he wins by 3 or 4 strokes.
True.
I'm sure he'll show a lot of emotion too as he does it as well.
Riveting stuff from DJ as always.
I'll save my thoughts on DJ for another pod. But good pick.
We'll circle back. I'm gonna go kind of a similar in that with Xander. The dude is just solid. He's playing well, and he's just it's kind of just a safe pick.
All right, my last pick, gonna go wild card, Thomas Pieters. I think he's played pretty well recently over in Europe. He's a big hitter. I think he's got potential to do well here, so take a run on him.
And potential to break a club or two is what we can only hope.
The entertainment factor should at least be there for us.
Put into somebody's pool. My dark horse pick here, I'll go ahead and go with Taylor Gooch. I mean, he played solid at Phoenix, didn't have the Sunday round that he wanted, and so this kind of be a bounce back week for him to wrap up the West Coast swing before heading down to Florida.
He's a stud, good friend of Homa, and yeah, he's awesome. So my last pick, I'm gonna go with Adam Scott. If the dude just putts not even half decent, just like if he just scares a few putts, I think he's got a good chance. I know he's won it in the past pretty recently, I think. So I'm gonna go with him. So Sean, you gonna write those down?
Got
Put
it
it
down.
in another Excel sheet for us.
Numbers are getting crunched as we speak.
It's my boy. All right. Anything else? Like any other thoughts on that or on the golf course or anything else? I know we're going for a little bit, so we'll wrap up, but and kind of return and report on those picks. But anything else? Any other thoughts? Victor, any shout outs you wanna give on the pod?
Man, shout outs right now. Not too sure on that. I was just thinking so much of the TPC Scottsdale. I mean, we had the 2 hole-in-ones. I remember I was watching yesterday and I was on the couch just enjoying the afternoon after a lovely round of golf there on a Saturday morning. And so get home and get to watch some more golf. And that was when Ryder had his hole-in-one. I watched it, the TV broadcast as it was live, and I was just like, no way. And I was really, really excited. And my wife was next to me on the couch, and I was just like jumping up and down, like, this is incredible. Because I was there at the tournament. Nobody hits a hole-in-one on 16 there at Scottsdale. It's been years. I mean, since like 2015, and then before that 2011. And so in this 11-year gap, there'd been one back in 15. And then for another one to happen today with Carlos Ortiz, I mean, he had it. His was pretty incredible, just the way it ran up to the hole and dropped in. I mean, such a different shot from yesterday as far as where the tees were and where the pins were. Just playing a much different length. Mm-hmm. And then to look on his scorecard would be just the ultimate golfing high is he had a hole-in-one on 16, and then he took a 2 on 17. He eagled 17.
I did not know that.
Eagle. Now, how many people can say they got eagle on their scorecard? That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. So shout out to them for that and for the beer showers. Sure, everyone appreciated that. So John, any shout outs from you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but I got to throw in a Saudi jab in there. I just wanted to bring up and shout out Charlie Hoffman getting murdered on social media. So he he had a bit of a disagreement with the rules official this week in Phoenix. He felt he was shortchanged by a drop and where he had to drop, and he went on into this rant of like, oh, this is why players are going to play in different leagues because the PGA Tour doesn't take care of its members, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, this dude's never been ranked in the top 20, and he still pocketed well over 30 million in his career. So I think he's been taken care of just fine. I just wanted to shout out that he finished last in the tournament this week of the golfers that made the cut. So just wanted to shout that out and
Great clowning.
thank him for some more entertainment off the course this weekend as well.
I love it. Great shout out. Well, fellas, I think that's good. Victor, again, thanks for coming. Excited to have you on here more, and we're excited to continue this. But if nothing else, we'll wrap it up and do this again next week.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, keep striving.
Peace.